All right, okay. So our group was thinking about the easy challenge that is solving the space debris problem. So the concept that we've come up with is a space bottle deposit. So we are trying to think about what are the ways that we can help to incentivize people thinking about space debris at the beginning of their mission throughout the life cycle, rather than it being an afterthought once your spacecraft is already becoming space junk. Why hasn't it been done yet? Humans have polluted the atmosphere, we've polluted the oceans, we're polluting space. These are the same challenges that we're seeing across these different domains. But for that exact reason, we want to try and learn some lessons from other industries. And one of those is the concept of a bottle deposit. So hands up, has anyone heard of this concept before? Okay, all right, okay, so we don't need to start from scratch. This is good. So the idea here that we're thinking about is as part of your licensing process to launch a satellite into space, as you're doing that, you need to put down a down payment. That goes to a separate account, and that is funds that are set aside so that if and when your spacecraft becomes debris, that money is no longer yours. You don't get it back. If you deorbit your satellite safely, great, your money is returned to you. But if it isn't, then those funds can be set aside and they can be used to support remediation efforts, whether that is funding the X Prize or other tow truck services that are available. What is new in your approach to make it succeed? So this is new for space, but it's not new for other industries. You know, the bottle deposit concept comes from literal bottles, right? So we're trying not to reinvent the wheel here and try and learn from other industries and incentives. How much would the completion cost and how long would it take? This is a little bit more of a regulatory challenge than a technical challenge. We've put a ballpark here of a few million over around 5 years. In terms of actually putting a price tag on that bottle deposit, a little bit TBD. There have been some preliminary efforts to try and put a cost on that. So the FCC in the US had a notice for proposed rulemaking a few years ago that tried to put a formula around how would you quantify this number that looks at things that take into account the mass of your spacecraft, the orbit in which it's operating in. The challenge that you have there is as soon as you start putting a calculation in, you start to game the system. And so there's a real challenge there in terms of how do you best quantify and manage that system. But we want to start somewhere. Other considerations to consider. So one of the things we were talking about here is, okay, no one wants to put funds set aside. Are there tax incentives? Are there ways that we can try and incentivize operators to contribute and also incentivize governments and countries to regulate and take the lead here as well? One of the other points that we were talking about, which maybe comes back to like not trying to reinvent the wheel, is really trying to integrate this space sustainability issue into wider, broader space sustainability, wider sustainability conversations and challenges. So we were talking about the kind of COP process for climate change and mitigation there. Is there ways to integrate space sustainability into those broader conversations? So again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, we're just expanding the sphere of influence and learning from some of those other industries that are maybe a little bit more developed on this front. We're not having to start completely from scratch. Last year, we had the first fine that was issued as a result of non-compliance with debris mitigation rules. It was a measly 150K, which is a drop in the ocean in terms of actual remediation debris costs, but it is that first step of actually creating an incentive and a financial penalty of not being sustainable in space. So we want to take that one step further and explore what that could mean for wider operations. And I think that is it from our group, but if anyone else wants to jump in, then no? All right, that's it.
You're at about 5 minutes. Good.